cause I'm about to ruin the image and the style that you used to. I look funny, but yo, I'm making money, see? So yo, world, I hope you're ready for me. Now gather round. I'm a new fool in town, cause my sound's laid down by the underground. I drink a bottle of Hennessy and you got it yourself. So just let me introduce myself. My name is Humpty, pronounced with the Humpty. Yo, ladies, oh, how I like to funk thee. And all the rappers in the top 10, please allow me to bump thee. What's up, Annette? And welcome to the Greatness Machine. What's up?
How are you doing, man?
Oh, man, I'm doing pretty damn awesome now that we're listening to some Humpty Dance. How are you doing?
Yeah, we should start all of our meetings like that.
I know. I did Welcome to the Jungle on my show earlier today. So it's a good start. I went through about 8 songs and landed on the Humpty Dance for you. So that was specifically for you. I don't even know if you like Digital Underground, but how can you not like Digital Underground is a better question.
Agreed.
Guys, welcome to the Greatness Machine. I'm your host, Darius Mirshahzadeh, and boy, do we have an amazing show for you today. We have my dear friend, Annette Poliwka. Did I get that right?
You did.
Because I got fucked up last names, and yours is way less screwed up than mine is. So welcome to the show. Guys, the format of the show is very simple. We are bringing together change makers who are living their passions to create greatness in the world. And Annette is definitely no short of greatness, nor is she short of passion. So a couple of things to know about live streaming. First of all, we're live. Start a watch party. Ask us questions. I have my team standing by on instant message, so they'll be pumping questions over to us. And really today, we do really have a special guest in Annette, and I want to give you a little bit of background on her. We've known each other for like 19 years, I think. Is that right? Am I dating us?
I was doing the math earlier, so something around there, yeah.
Yeah, it's at least over 17 or 18. So we met way back in the day in San Francisco. And anyway, I want to tell you a little bit about Annette. She's a sustainable consultant. She did some amazing things with AmeriCorps. Didn't you work for like the not the FAA? That's a federal air. What's the other one?
The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency.
Yes, the thing that Trump doesn't like. And you're a life coach, and you're all about nature and the environment. You're doing some really cool things that I want to dig into. So welcome to the show. I'm so glad to have you.
Yeah, awesome to be here. Welcome to Lake Tahoe.
Yeah, dude, that's naturey. That is definitely naturey. I love it. It's beautiful. So I wanted to start off. You've seen a couple of the shows, so I'd like to start off with a little yoga laugh. Are you filling up for that?
Sure.
Have you done yoga laugh?
I don't think I have.
Dude, you seem like the type of person that would have done a yoga laugh. I'm stereotyping you right now, but like I'm gonna teach you really quickly what one is, and then we'll do one together. Does that work?
That sounds perfect.
Since I introduced my singing and rapping in the shows, I pulled back on the yoga laugh. And for you, I'm doubling down. We're going yoga laugh and singing. So that's because I love you and it's just was your birthday. So I'm giving you extra presents right now. All right. A yoga laugh is where you laugh as hard as you can. You force a laugh. So it's like, so I'll express one to you, and then we'll do 3 together. Okay. So this is what a yoga laugh is. Got it?
Got it.
All right. Ready? On the count of 3, we're gonna do 3. We'll do 3 laughs. So you just follow my lead. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh, how do you feel?
I feel great.
Yeah, they always give you a nice, I feel a nice buzz after I do it. It's if you're ever in like a awkward moment with like a group or something and you want to throw everybody off, make them all do a yoga laugh. I've had that. It works very well. So, dude, what have you been up? I mean, I know we talked a little bit, but like fill me in. You just had this amazing birthday.
Yeah.
Hear about it, and let's talk about some of the cool things you did with that, and let's dive in. What's up?
Yeah. So I just turned 40
the
other day, and I've been feeling good about it. And so usually for my birthday, my birthday is in the middle of the summer. So I grew up going to summer camp. So my birthday has always been surrounded by all of my friends and playing games and going to the pool And that's just like the culture of my birthday.
Yeah.
And I usually go camping or backpacking. Last year I was on the John Muir Trail backpacking on my birthday, and obviously this year is different. So I wanted to do something where I could get outside with all my friends. And so I decided to do this thing where I was going to run a mile a day. So if you have been sheltering in place during COVID, you might have gotten into the rut, like some of us, like myself, of maybe not going outside. You know, sometimes that's easier or more convenient, or you just
Totally.
not, you're like, I'm in my pajamas for the third day straight, you know?
Right.
And everyone laughs at that because it's true. So it was a way for me to get outside, for me to do something to be physical, you know, to be physical, but not necessarily putting pressure to do something really crazy. And so I
Right.
invited all my friends to do it, and everyone did their own version. And that's the part that I really loved. You know, some friends walked, you swam every day, you know, and I'm curious how you felt after 40 days of swimming.
Awesome. I mean, I'm on, I mean, I think I had been swimming before that every day. And then I was like, and I'm not a good runner. I was joking about this yesterday on one of the shows that like, I'm not built for running. Like I have bad knees and flat feet. But for some reason I got like these Italian peasant legs and really long arms. It's like a monkey. And so that's really good for swimming because I can kick hard and I can swim. And I've swam now, I think, 75 days in a row, but the 40 for your birthday it was cool to have purpose around it, which obviously that purpose helps everything, right? So yeah, no, I feel it's like I've never worked out this many days in a row ever. Never my whole life. So yeah, no, I feel amazing. How do you feel?
Right on. I feel good. I was surprised by a couple of things. The first was, so I'm a hiker and have a backpacking trip coming up, a mountain in a week or two. So, you know, hiking and having that distance, the distance actually went down. So what I found was that sometimes I would just do my mile and then I'd come home and then I'd continue with my workday. So that part was interesting where I was like, oh, my overall mileage went down. But then what I also found was that I wanted to eat healthier. I wanted to like pick up some weights. I
Yeah.
realized that my core could be stronger. So all of these other benefits rose to the top really naturally without feeling the stress or like the pressure of having to like be more healthy or I'm going to eat healthier. It was just more of like, oh, okay, I'm going to
I
have a
just did it.
solid lunch, you know, and that felt fantastic. So I felt that by the time my birthday came, I was like, I am not training for anything. I'm not training for a marathon, which sometimes, and I mean, maybe you get into this mode or other people get into this mode where when you're training for something, you have a goal, you know what you have to do to get there, you break it down, you know, you have a plan, you might have a coach, and like you execute, you know,
Right.
like show up, you know, for what you're supposed to do. And sometimes it's like a little too much. And when I was training for the New York City Marathon, I ended up finding that like I was getting like injuries and it was really hard for my head to like pull back
Yeah.
physically because I'm like, I don't want to get behind schedule. I this, that, and I'm not a fast runner. And I don't care, you know,
Hmm.
that's the thing. I don't care. And so I'm going to continue on with this 40-day thing. But we can get into that a little bit later if you want.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I mean, I think like we had a the first guest on the show was David Rendell, and he is an ultra marathoner, and now he's 6'7" and like thin as a rail, and I think him taking a step is the equivalent of a normal person taking 4 steps. So when he's like, "Oh, I ran 100 miles," I'm like, "That's just like a normal. That's like a normal person running a marathon, dude." So like, quit bragging. No. And like when I run a marathon, it's like him running 4 ultra marathons.
Yeah.
And so my brother ran a marathon once, like 20 years ago. He ran the LA Marathon, and he permanently hurt himself. Like he never was the same. And so I'm always like, I don't get it. Like I get it. Because I like to run a little bit, like a mile. That sounds amazing, because you get the runner's high, and I totally understand that. But I'll tell you, like, I think it's all about, and you're kind of making the point, it's all about picking activities that you could just weave into your life without it being a challenge, and it becomes additive, not like, oh, where you start to feel like shit because you didn't do it, and then there's like the guilt, and because it's hard, and you don't really want to do it. I mean, like a lot of people hate working out because it's hard to find things you like to do when you work out. Like to your point, like training for the New York Marathon, which is a cool thing to train for, but you have that like goal in mind of like, all right, I'm going to cross the finish line, but then the training itself is brutal, and then you get hurt because it's hard, and then you're like, but I'm going to do it. Did you, by the way, do the marathon?
I didn't.
Yeah. So you were so injured you couldn't do it. Right.
So what was interesting was a part of me, so my knees were hurting, and a part of me was thinking, and this is interesting. Part of me was thinking that I'm just going to walk it. And in my mind as a hiker, I'm like, I can walk 26 miles like in a day, like that, there is no hurdle there, but it hurt to walk to BART. So I was like, you know what? Mm-mm.
Yeah. You got to listen to your body.
You got to listen to your body. And, it's more about having something that's small enough that you're able to show up for every day, that the hard part isn't that activity. The hard part is just showing up. And then ultimately, how often do we show up for other people versus for ourselves, right? So I made a commitment to you today at this time, and I'm going to show up. But what if, it's like, what commitments are you not making to yourself? And what slides? Because we have businesses, we have work, we have kids, we have, a million other things. And the first thing to go is oftentimes, at least for me, so let me know if you relate, but oftentimes the first things to go is exercise, good food, and sleep.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're making a good point. Like I did this program around conscious leadership that I was talking about in the last episode with one of my classmates who was in the program. And, there's a whole thing around time blocking, right? And to your point, we'll like, especially if we have a high level of commitment, right? And if we're the type of person that's a dedicated person, which I think most people would like to. No one says, man, I am the least dedicated person and I don't show up for anybody. I'm a total fucking flake, right? No one says that, but they do it, right? It's like someone saying they have a bad work ethic. Most people don't say that. But they do it. We do that with ourselves because it's easy. It's easy for me to give time to other people, but I treat myself like shit, and I don't give myself the time I need. I don't give myself the rest I need. I don't give myself the space I need. And then it becomes really burdensome to show up for other people. And then it's a downward spiral. And so one of the practices that integral practices around integral leadership that I learned, that I'm going to admit to you, I'm pretty bad at it. Like, don't get me wrong. It's just something I'm aware of that I'm slowly working on, is I'll schedule time on my calendar. And now I miss those appointments all the time with myself. I have in there, go eat lunch with my kids. I miss that appointment probably like 4 out of 5 days. I have in there to go work out. I do that. I have in there to go for a walk. I'll schedule over that in 2 seconds, and it's bad habit, right? Because all we're talking about is a choice. And to your point, like, the first person you're going to take away from is yourself, which when you're laying on your deathbed, I'm pretty sure that's the first person you're going to be pissed at that you didn't give all that time to. You know what I mean? So how do you, like, what are the things that you do to work around that?
Well, I schedule it in, and I have an accountability buddy, and we send each other our schedules in advance so that I know that when it's in my calendar, sometimes it's easier to just follow the agenda. A trick that I love with that is giving enough time in between meetings.
Yeah.
Travel time, I mean, even during the age of COVID, is super important because you need to transition between meetings. Getting from place to place always takes more time than you think it does. Yeah. And the best case scenario is that you show up 5 minutes or 10 minutes early, and you're able to like make that quick call, or, show up in advance. You know how they say, if you're not 5 minutes early, you're late.
Yeah, that's Lombardi time, baby.
So making sure that it's there. And I mean, you're the commitment, like you going for that walk and having that time for yourself. Because I mean, if you think about it, how many times do you see successful people say, oh, I was in the shower and I had this great idea?
Yeah.
Right. And so if you think about it, It's the time for themselves. No one's hassling them. They're not on the phone, this, that. So in real life, when we're being tugged from all of these different directions with, you know, email and phone and WhatsApp and all the different freaking chat groups that are out there, you know, it's when you're actually by yourself and have that time is like when the magic happens, you know? And so one of the things that I love to coach on getting outdoors in nature is, you know, either scheduling what I call a walk talk with my community every Wednesday, but you know, which meetings can you do while walking? Who can you call, whether it's a parent, whether it's a friend, whether it's someone to catch up with, you know, or whether it's a, you know, a business meeting as well, where you suggest and then you say, hey, yeah, you know what, I want to be walking too, you know, or having that time for yourself. So or you can have it as a walking meditation where you're like, no one is talking to me and this is lovely. And you get to slowly calm your head. So all of those thoughts. And so back in the day, I had a meetup group in Berkeley where we would, half of the hike was in a community, and then we would do a meditation, do some forest bathing, and then the rest of the hike was in silence.
Mm-hmm.
And I initially, you know, felt a little nervous about it because some people are like, how far are we going to go and how fast? And, you know, and I'm like, yeah, no, that's not the kind of hike that we're doing, you know? And, but the people who show up love it because it allows for permission for us to just be quiet, for us to look at the trees and to put rocks in our hands and like take off your shoes and just like be present. And I don't know what's more important than taking care of ourselves, you know, because if you're not healthy mentally and physically, like you need to be there for your kids, you know, you need to be there for your wife. I mean, obviously you need to be there for yourself, you know, to be successful and to be, you know, everything that you want to create in the world. And, you know, that happens when you have that time, you know, when you carve that time for yourself and you make it a priority and you make it non-negotiable. So one of the things that I make that's non-negotiable is my bedtime. And like when I'm done talking with people, and I have alarms set on my phone. And I know that, I mean, it's funny because back in the day when we used to see other human beings, I'd be on a date and all of a sudden at 9 o'clock, my alarm goes off to like start getting ready for bed, you know? But like,
bye, I gotta go.
you know, and even last night, I sort of pushed it a little bit. And what ended up happening is I was talking with a friend about the program that I'm launching, and I was getting all of these ideas. And so I actually couldn't fall asleep for another 45 minutes. And I had to get up, write things down, and then I could fall asleep.
Yeah.
Because my brain was working and my brain was excited,
Right.
even though I wasn't necessarily on my computer. But, you know, it's like, I need to protect that space so that we're able to go to sleep soon.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I want to ask about your program, but before we go there, guys, we are live. So you got Annette, sustainability coach, personal coach, life coach. She's doing some really cool things, and we're going to talk about her nature programs that she takes people out on, and her life coaching that she does in just a second here. But so ask questions. My team's on standby. Start a watch party. We got a great talk going on here, and love to hear some of your questions. So talk about like the coaching and the program, and you know what, like I know you started this. I think we talked about this. Gosh, I think it was a year and a half ago when we were in Utah at my house, and you were telling me about this really cool thing. You wanted to start like a retreat thing. So yeah, tell the audience about that.
Yeah. So my previous day job before COVID was all about sustainability and, you know, laws about garbage and recycling. And one of the things that I realized is that I had dedicated my life to the environment, to preserving the environment, because I also love being in it. And I want everyone to have clean air, water, soil. I don't care who you are, politics, everything, you know, it's like, I want that for everyone. And one of the things that I realized is like, we need to spend more time outside. We're so cooped up. We need to spend time outside. We need to be connected also with like our deeper selves.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you're on a hike, when you're walking with your kids, like you feel a little bit more playful, and connecting to that part to that joyous part of, you know, when you might have like tried to climb a tree, you know, and then maybe someone told you like, don't climb a tree, you're going to get hurt. And then all of a sudden you're, you know, you're living a little bit more out of fear. So I call myself a life coach for people who also love nature or the environment, or, you know, it's an ongoing process, but I've been doing, I was doing in-person retreats, you know, around the solstice, and on hiking retreats, and, you know, just connecting with our deeper selves. But ultimately, I feel that when you feel strong in your body, when you're outdoors and like safe, you also feel strong in your mind. And so that's also along with that mile a day thing. You know, it's like when
Right.
you feel good physically, you're more likely to feel better mentally. And so those are the skills that you get to take, you know, into the boardroom with your family, in your personal life, where you show up a little bit more confidently because you're more grounded, you know what's important to you, you're connected to the bigger picture, you know. And if you believe in a higher power, I mean, I don't know anyone who's gone out into nature who has had a bad time. I
Yeah.
mean, there's like the type 2 fun. I was like, wait a second.
Uh,
I mean,
I,
maybe not, you know, but
I have a story to tell you about that, but anyway, sorry, go ahead.
yeah. So type 2 fun is that in the moment, oh, there's birds, in the moment, and it's garbage day. So we might see bears, you know,
Oh,
and
no way.
I tend to look outside, but in the moment it's hard and you're tired and you're cranky and it's raining and it's bad weather. But then afterward, you're like, oh, that was epic. That's type 2. And type 3 fun is like, it's not fun in the moment and it's not fun when you look back where you're like, I'm not doing that again.
So I grew up in a family of people that were not outdoorsy at all. I mean, like, and my joke is that my dad's idea of camping was going to Las Vegas and going to the casino. And so I literally, the first time I camped, I was 19. That was the first time I ever camped. And then I didn't camp again till, gosh, I want to say like in my late 20s. I think maybe in 30s when I had my kids. I'm kind of I like glamping, and I do like being outdoors. I mean, I rented like an Airstream once at Cassini Ranch in Russian River, and I mean, if you don't like to camp and you're kind of a sissy like I am about, you know, being outdoors, go run an Airstream, because that's like staying in the W Hotel. It was amazing, but to your point, the being outside, I mean, there is nothing like it. It's grounding. I walk around I have a kind of a cool piece of land here in Austin that's about an acre of land. I just go walk around on my property barefoot, and I have a stream behind my house, and I'll just go when it rains. I'll go sit out by the stream and listen. It's, you know, the white noise of the water, and you know, feeling dirt on my feet, and there's something about that I think it releases a lot of like cortisol out of your body, and like creates feelings of gratitude and love. And because I feel way more chill when I do that. Like, I feel about as chill as anything when I do those types of things. And this is coming from a person like I like going to New York City, you know, like when I said, if you're like, has anyone ever had a bad experience camping, but no one's ever had a bad experience. I'm like, yeah, I took a 1.5-year-old camping and like literally wanted to shoot myself at the Antelope Lake in Nevada. So I will say, taking a 1.5-year-old that's crying like all night long in pitch dark, not fun. But by yourself, or like even if your kids are old enough, or if you can deal with a 1.5-year-old screaming at 3 o'clock in the morning in pitch dark, being outdoors, there is nothing like it. I agree. We have a question actually for you. What inspired you to focus on building women-specific outdoor programming?
Yeah, I women's issues are really like close to my heart around empowerment. Um, I'm like, I'm trying to be politically correct, but you know what? Like
Yeah. Fuck that. There's no filters on my show. Knock it off.
men have, you know, it's like society was built for men and for men being successful. And so working with women and growing that confidence and like having fun and building that camaraderie and being able to challenge each other, like that's special, you know. And having that kind of a community where you're able to nudge is a lot of fun and really like promotes personal growth and personal development.
Yeah. I mean, look, the world was built by a bunch of men, right? Like at least the way they designed it. And men like in general have, some are amazing designers, but in general, like most men suck at design. That's the way I see it. So, and when you look at these legacy systems of design, to your point, it's not with a lot of, groups that are not men in mind. And so I think that it's important to build those institutions. And I mean, even men need it too. Like right now, like men are under like if you're a guy, a successful, non-man of color, you're fucking under attack, right now, and if you look, I think it's suicide rates for men in their 50s, white men in their 50s is like some like generational high, so it's not easy to be those guys either. But at the same time, like I think everyone needs to find whatever support they can that is going to help them thrive. Like I'm in CEO forums. I'm in 3 of them. One's co-ed and 2 are men only. And it's because, like, and if you ask, it's like because it's a different vibe once you start to mix it up. And I think the same goes for women. Like you guys can empower each other in a different way that if you had a bunch of guys in there with you, it would just be different. It would be a different vibe, And I don't think that, and to your point, there probably is enough of an institution for co-ed or, support groups that what you're doing is, I think, really important. So that's great.
Yeah, and I think of the woman who may have been exposed to getting outdoors with a partner, with maybe like a boyfriend or a husband, and then they break up or get a divorce, and then all of a sudden she looks around and says, "Oh, wait a second, all of my friends just none of them want to do these things. None of them want to carry heavy stuff into the woods,
Right.
or go fishing or whatever." And there are communities out there for women so that you're able to do the things that you find to be fun, because like you're allowed that, and you get to have fun, whether it means, gutting a fish or going backpacking or climbing mountains. And, we also get to do it together. You can do it, with everyone, but it is a special vibe.
Yeah. And, you said something that's really interesting earlier, and I meant to comment on it. You said, by going outdoors, like becoming empowered, that's how you show up in other parts of your life. And there's a quote that's, how you show up for anything is how you show up for everything. Right.
Yeah.
And that, I think, kind of mirrors what you're talking about, but it gives you a context around it, which is, okay, I'm going to go out with women and we're going to go and become empowered and support each other. And I have a lot of friends actually who are women that are building women only companies. And I'm going to be honest with you, I prefer to do business with them. It's a different vibe. And, I think that, look, if you ask me my question, I think that there needs to be way, 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 way more females in the top levels of leadership all throughout the world. And I think it'll solve every fucking problem we have. Like literally, if the world mirrored the population and we had 50% or 49% women in power, our problems are gone. Because I think men are creating the testosterone. That's what's creating all these issues. So I'm going to get off my soapbox, but that's my perspective. We had a question. You said the term forest bathing. What is that?
Yeah. So forest bathing is actually a Japanese tradition of just being really present in your environment. So what that might mean is doing a different kind of a meditation with like taking everything in with your eyes and observing everything that's around you. So behind me, and you see like these strong trees and like the different leaves and the different colors and the different textures. And so it's a way of getting really present with what is surrounding you at the moment.
Oh, that's so cool. And there's such a cool like awareness around the consciousness of that, right? That you're present in the fullest, I guess it's almost like a eye-open meditation, right? But you're using the forest for it. Wow. So I've admitted this twice on the show. I'm gonna admit it a third time. I used to joke that there's 2 things in the world I hate. One is meditation, and the second is hiking. And I love meditation now. Like it's very rare I don't meditate every day for at least 20 minutes. I do Sam Harris Waking Up, which if you've never done that is freaking amazing. He's my god. But I'm going to I think you have to take me out hiking, and we got to do some meditation. And I may actually come on the show and say, there's two things I hate in this world, and it's not hiking, it's not meditation. I'll pick two new things. That's cool. I hadn't thought, I do realize I love, on my property, we have these amazing oak trees, like they're called heritage oaks. And I love looking at them. I'll send you a picture actually after the show of the tree. I have like this 200-year-old oak tree outside of my bedroom window. It was the reason I bought the property. I was like, this is gorgeous. So I think you're right. There's something around our connectivity to nature that grounds us and gets us, I don't know, like to your point, like forest bathing. I never heard that term either. I didn't even know, I didn't even catch that. I'll thank my team for catching that, because that is such a cool observation. So you said, do you know the word in Japanese for it?
I would butcher it at the moment.
Okay. We'll look it up offline. So we got a couple more questions. What do you do in the evening to set yourself up for the next day?
Yeah. I feel that I have a morning ritual, which includes journaling, meditation, and sometimes some exercise. But the night before, I send out my accountability buddy my schedule for the next day, and I turn off my phone. And I brush my teeth in peace, and I do my eye cream, and sometimes I'll do an evening meditation, while I'm going to bed. Sometimes I'll rest a hand on my heart and another hand on my stomach. Yeah. And just observe the breathing so that I can calm myself down. I've been getting into sleep apps to basically regulate and see how I'm doing in terms of how much sleep I'm getting. But my evening routine is super basic. It's like I turn everything off, the TVs, the computers, the phones, and I make sure that I'm off the phone by a certain time.
There's so I'm going to plug our show for tomorrow, because the woman that's going to be on the show tomorrow is Gina Malacone, she's unbelievable. Like, she's like, Gina, if you're watching this, like, I'm so excited to have her. She's all about, she's a neurologist. Well, she teaches NPL, or NLP, neuro linguistics programming.
I'm in a training for that right now.
What's that?
I'm in a training for that tonight.
Oh, wow. Well, she's like one of the world's best at it. Like, she's amazing. And she does this thing. I think it's called heart rhythm, which is, actually the waves of the heart, and how they're connected to basically the resonance of the world around you. And how does that affect you, from everything from sleep to, the people you're attracting, the behavior, the way you're feeling from an anxiety standpoint. Anyway, there's some really cool things around. They're measuring actually the electricity in the heart. So I think there's a lot there that has to do with actually how we sleep, right? Because there's they say, like, even the light on your phone, increases the neurotransmissions in your brain, right? It's electricity, essentially. Like, we're electrical, right? Like, our whole body is filled with, like neurons that have electric charges, and our nerves get affected. So that's pretty cool. I've done the meditation before I sleep, where I'll meditate. I'll think of the things I'm grateful for in my life for like maybe about a minute or two. And that's calming, but I'll try that. The feelings of the heart and the stomach and that's a smart idea. Do you, we have a couple more questions. I wanted to ask you a question around core values. So think about this in a second when I ask the next question, but do you know your personal core values, by the way? Have you done them? Oh, I have to do that for you for your 40th birthday. So that's my gift. That's my gift to you. I'm going to do your personal core values with you. And we're going to build them.
I love my birthday.
Yeah, that's totally my gift to you. That's like I wish I'd given it to you sooner. One thing that I do, and I've been bad about it lately because I've been slammed with the book launch and I've been kind of off my schedule. But when I meditate in the morning, I actually meditate on my personal core values. So it's a really cool way to kind of set your day up. And sometimes if I'm having a bad day, before I go to bed, I'll do a gratitude meditation, and then I will think of the one core value I really want to have a better day with the next day. and I'll just kind of say it to myself. I'll repeat it over and over until I like kind of calm down. So that's my present to you. We're going to do your personal core values. I am so excited for that.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
Yeah, it's done. All right. We'll take that offline. All right. So what has been the coolest place you've adventured in?
I would say, and this isn't like a traditional adventure, but a few years ago, I went to Thailand because I never got that like traditional after college, I'm going to backpack through Southeast Asia experience. And I created that for myself. And I started at a monastery for, I've done Vipassana, I've done other retreats, meditation retreats. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to pop in for like, I don't know, 3 to 5 days. 3 to 5 days ended up being 21.
Wow. Was it like a silent meditation or oh, wow. You had a silent meditation for 21 days?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So that's not exactly like an physical adventuring, but it was definitely a mind adventuring experience. And then I still felt that I didn't really get that Southeast Asia because I was meditating the whole time in silence. But that was an amazing experience. And it was one of those things where I was like, you know what? I can come back for the elephants. I can come back for everything else. And I have the time blocked off of my calendar now. I've told all my clients that I'm basically off the grid anyway, because it was around Christmas and New Year's time. Mm-hmm. It's like, all right, like, I guess I'm supposed to be here, and so just recognizing in that moment of, okay, I get to shift what I thought this trip was going to be about, mm-hmm. and then like be really present with that. So that was a crazy and wonderful adventure. And then I would say physically, when I tried to climb Mount Shasta for the first time, I haven't been back, but it was as a fundraiser back in the day before there was all the websites where you actually wrote hand letters to people saying, I'm climbing this mountain for this organization for Bay Area wilderness training. And I led a bunch of training hikes, and I became friends with all of these people who I'm still friends with today. And we were having so much fun getting up the mountain that we didn't get to the top. And so and I take that story with me because, on one hand, it's like, if you're going to climb a mountain, you might as well get to the gosh darn top of it. Right. And you're not going to summit every mountain that you try to climb. And so I feel that because that was my first experience with mountain climbing, it's like, safety is number one. Safety is always number one. I'm sort of boring like that, and I don't care if I'm the least popular person in the group because safety actually really becomes number one. Sure. But I love that trip because it was my first mountain. I'm going to climb another mountain next week. I'm going to go to Mount Whitney, which is the highest peak in the lower 48. Yeah. And, it's like, you got to give it your go. And sometimes you can get to the top. And sometimes, the first person to turn around, who I thought in my mind, I had created this story where I was like, oh, he's really athletic and he runs marathons, this, that. He was the first one off because of the altitude.
Oh, wow.
And it's like, you never really quite know. You just have to listen to your body. You have to communicate with your team and, make a decision together and, ultimately execute. And so even that as an example is like, okay, well, how do I translate that into real life? You speak up, you share, you make a determination, and then you take the next step, whether it's up or down the mountain.
Yeah. So you said two things that just kind of struck me. First of all, you said you're not going to summit every mountain you climb. And that's such an analogy for life. Right. And there was a guy who spoke at my TEDx event 8 years ago, Kevin Jagger, and he tried to become a professional speed skater in Canada. He literally he would play football in college for can't remember who it was. It was some really good college in Canada. And then he went and became an investment banker in New York, and then quit his job when he was 24 and was like, I'm going to go become an Olympian. Like, I'm going to go attempt to become an Olympian. Like, and he had never skated before in his whole life. And so, look, the chances of becoming an Olympian when you've never skated before in your whole life is like pretty much almost zero. And so he ended up making it to like top 20 in Canada because he was very athletic, but he didn't become an Olympian. And his whole talk was essentially like the name of the theme of the event was the pursuit of passion. And his was called the passion for pursuit, which is, it's not about the reaching the summit. It's about enjoying the process of getting there, you know, which you hear people say that, but what that means is, what I found is, because I've always been the guy that's like, I heard you say the thing is like, you're not going to summit every mountain. Like 5 years ago, I would have been like, yeah, maybe you, but I'm going to, right? Like, that's my achiever brain. That's like my competitive achiever brain's like, why would I even attempt to climb it if I'm not going to summit it, right? And here I am 5 years later, and I'm the opposite. I'm like, why would I attempt to climb it if I'm not going to enjoy climbing it? Which is a totally different, like, you have to have a completely different mind shift. And so I think a lot of us in our lives focus on this outcome. And then what I've learned is, I'm like, there were these, I don't even want to say them because they sound so ridiculous, but like, I remember thinking, I'm going to hit these goals. Am I cutting out right now, by the way, or am I good?
You were cutting out, so sort of dramatic, where you're like, my life lesson.
Oh, no.
I'm gonna have to go back and
Yeah.
listen anyway. But
Hold
yeah.
on, my team said I cut out for them too, my back. So where did you guys lose me at? What part? Am I cut out again?
No.
Okay, I might ask, what part did I cut out at?
You cut out at like your big life lesson.
Oh, my big life lesson was, I had like, you know, I'm an entrepreneur, right? And so when you're an entrepreneur, especially if you're a Darius entrepreneur, where there's literally no ceiling, like I remember having a $200,000 company being like, I'm going to build $1 billion company. And like, when I was 25, when I never built a company, and people say shit like that, and then they quit, really, you know, they quit at like 8 million or 5 million. And I was always just like, billions coming. I haven't hit $1 billion, by the way, yet. But but I remember thinking things like that. And then, but that wasn't my goal. I was just like this pie in the sky goal. But I had some goals that were like, I'm going to have $100 million company. And I was nowhere near that. And then when I hit that, I was like, it was as if I had done nothing. It was as if I'd made myself like a cocktail. You know, there was no celebration, there was no satisfaction. And I realized that I hadn't enjoyed the process. I was so focused on the outcome that the process itself wasn't, it just, what, you know, like, that was just part of the deal. And what my realization is, like, why do anything if you're not going to enjoy the process? I mean, unless you have to, you know, if your life's on the line or whatever. Yeah. Like, look, like, there's plenty of shitty things you have to do in your life that you're not going to enjoy the process. But I'm not talking about those things. Those things, like, you got to do what you got to do. Like, right now I'm building a course and it's brain damage for me. It's super hard. I don't enjoy it, but I'm doing it because I want to get it out in the world. But when you talk about stuff like the show, like, oh my God, like, this is like, I enjoy every second of this. Right. And I realized that we all need to pick these things in our lives. It sounds like you've done a great job of this, of picking these things in our lives, that the outcome will be whatever it's going to be. But I'm going to like soak up every ounce of marrow out of that bone of the process, you know? And when you start finding those things, and what I found is, when you align your strengths, your purpose, and your values, those things appear. But so you gotta know your values, you gotta know your purpose, and then you gotta play in your strengths. So when you do those three things, which, like, sounds like you're doing, you may not have defined your values, but I know you know your values, and sounds like you're really in line with your purpose, and you're doing things within your strengths, and that's when it all kind of comes together, and you're at least really loving the process. I mean, do you agree with that?
I agree. It's also been a process to get here.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know,
Because why do you say that? I'll tell you why I think that, but why do you say that?
well, because there is a voice that I've heard for a period of time that I sort of ignored, you know, and I was completely committed to, like certain kinds of jobs. And I mean, it's basically like the attachment with the ego, of, working for different agencies and whatnot, but also like knowing that I, that I have gifts to share that I'm not able to share in that kind of an environment, and so it's actually taken COVID for me to get to where I am right now. Because the last time I saw you in person was when we were in Utah. And on that trip, I drove through a bunch of Western states thinking, oh, can I live in the mountains? Right.
Mhm.
And then here we are. And I gave notice. I've been in the mountains for the last like 6 months and I love it. And I gave notice for my apartment, but like I also needed that nudge, to
Yeah.
get me to where I am. And this reminder. And I feel like, I'm hopeful that everyone is experiencing some level of that with COVID, in terms of all of those things, all of those thoughts, like what you have been doing well, what you have been wanting to do, all bubble up because you're at home and you have nothing else to do, besides thinking about like these hopes and dreams that you've had. And hopefully that, this is like the little nudge that people need in order to like take that first step. And so that's part of it. It's like you don't have to have, and this for me has been really hard. So I'm launching a program, and a previous version of me would want to have known every single thing that had come out, and my intention was not to start this program, this 40-day forward program. It just sort of evolved, and I'm rolling with it.
Yeah.
Whereas, when I worked for the federal government, you have to have everything lined out, from soup to nuts. Is that what they say? Like all of the details, everything be perfect. It goes up the chain of command, down the chain of command 30 times. By the time it is launched, it might be outdated, and it's just a different way of thinking and like retraining our minds and our brains to think a different way. And thinking differently is okay. We need to think differently for different situations. So for example, the other day on my birthday hike, and I like walked into a forest fire, and I was
Wow.
like, okay, like we are no longer swimming in this beautiful lake, but we are assessing and calling 911. And, luckily I had this mile a day training. Who knew that it was so that I can get my fucking ass out of a forest fire, you know? Like, how crazy is that? I mean, it was a small fire, and I had a conversation with like the chief at the fire department and talked about the coordination between US Forest Service and CAL FIRE and whatnot, and everything is fine and everyone was safe. But like practicing different ways of being is a critical skill for, for success, because you're not going to always know the big picture. You're not going to always have that very specific goal that you're working towards. You're not going to always have everything in front of you and that you're just working towards it. Like I'm an analyzer, so I'm like, okay, give me the spreadsheets, like what is this all like, how do the puzzles fit together,
Totally.
like that. And you know what, sometimes you only have two pieces of the puzzle, and that's okay too, because you just have to take that first step. Like I don't want anyone to feel intimidated about like, oh, and I don't even tell most of my clients that I'm climbing this ginormous mountain next week, because I don't want anyone to feel like, for me it's just like another thing that I'm doing,
Right.
honestly, but I don't want anyone to feel like, oh, how like I'm so far behind. And it's like, it doesn't even matter. It's all about just like getting out there a little bit at a time and like pushing yourself a little bit more and going a little bit further. And I feel like that's what you're talking about in business, and that's how it relates to being on the trail and like pushing yourself a little bit, not pushing, but like it's that subconscious that comes up where it's like, oh, you can go a little bit farther, you can go a little bit higher. Like your next company, you can aim for a higher number.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you can do it.
Yeah, you got there. Like, I mean, I wouldn't even celebrate when I got there. I would just be like, oh, cool. Like onward and upward. Right. And then, and my realization now is like, well, that's no way to live. I mean, you know, I've gone through kind of a pretty big transformation over the last couple of years of my life in a lot of ways. But I was talking to my therapist about this, and I see this amazing therapist. He's going to be on my show next month. His name's Stephen Terrell. The guy is a freaking god. And, you know, he's like, you don't enjoy life that much, do you? And I'm like, fuck no. You know, I love my kids, I love my family, but like, I don't enjoy moments, you know? And I decided, right, you know, over the last few months where I'm like, I am going to enjoy life. You know, you owe it to yourself to do that. To your point, like we live in such a comparison culture, right? And this is I think it's worldwide, but I think America. I mean, I don't know if it's an animalistic thing or what, but it's definitely an American thing where we just compare ourselves, and we got this bullshit on social media where people are picturing, showing you the like their perfect moment and leaving out the other 99.99999% of the bullshit that's terrible that you would never ever want to do, right? And then we say, oh, that's reality, when it's not, you know. And I see people do all that all the time. They front, they fake it, and then inside they're like just miserable, you know, because they're living for that one Instagram moment. And it's like, dude, those aren't even the best moments. The best moments are like moments like this where we're just bullshitting, or when my 6-year-old runs in here and gives me a huggle attack, and you know, we play Beyblades together, and then I, you know, race them in the swimming pool tomorrow afternoon, right? Those are the best moments. You know, having like the first bite of pizza is the best moment. You know, like it's not the fucking bullshit picture I'm going to put on Instagram. That's for sure.
You know, it's really funny that you say this, because I've always thought of you as someone who enjoys life. And I feel that for myself. I actually feel like that is my lesson in this lifetime. As silly as that might sound, where I'm like, you know what? Like, I feel so blessed for so many different reasons. And I feel like it's sort of easier when I see other people who are so blessed be not happy, where I'm like, don't you see how good you have it? Like,
Totally.
you just have to like enjoy the moment. And it's funny because I'm a Solomon ambassador, like the running shoe, like the shoe brand.
Oh, Solomon. Okay, yeah. I'm like, is that like a religious thing? I'm like, that sounds like very religious.
Yeah. and like the hashtag is it's time to play. And I'm like, yeah, like remember that, like it's time to play, like let your inner child have a little bit of fun, like enjoy that first slice of, you know, that first bite of the pizza, you know, or like snuggling with your kids, because like that's what matters.
Yeah. No, you know, my kids have helped me a lot. You know, for me, it's not, I do it. I mean, it's not that I don't enjoy life. It's just that I don't have like, it's hard for me to enjoy life. And normally in my life, where I've enjoyed life, it usually involves, I have to have friends around and partying and, you know, and that's not most of your life, right? That's like 1% of your life, you know, unless you're like, I mean, for some people, maybe it's a lot more, but, you know, for me, that's always been super enjoyable. And that's when people see me, right? Those are my Instagram moments where you see me around my friends, or we're spending one-on-one time together, I'm connecting. And those are probably my highest levels of joy, but that's not most of the time, right? That's some of the time. The other rest of the time is the stuff that most people don't see, where I'm grinding and I'm, you know, I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I go to, you know, right now it's 5 o'clock. I've been going for 13 hours a day, you know, and this is the norm for me. I'm doing a talk in Australia at 8 o'clock tonight. So, you know, like, and that's tiring, right? But I'll enjoy it. I'll love that moment, but that 18-hour day is going to be tough, you know? And what I've found is if I'm not doing work that I love, that's a drain as opposed to energetic. And so that's why I say, like, you have to find that joy. And I'm preaching to myself, because I think that I could go for hours about why I've had a hard time finding joy in my life. And it's old stuff that's happened in my life that's made me feel that way. And I've overcome it by working hard, right? But I haven't enjoyed the fruits of that labor, right? Well, that's this topic for another show, because we're deep, and I want to ask. There's a couple more questions I want to get. This is like probably the longest show I've had, because we're having such an awesome conversation.
Right on.
So the last question was, how can we get Darius to love hiking? I don't know, guys. We don't even need to go there, because it'll be what I like to say is, I don't enjoy staring at rocks and leaves, but maybe Annette can change that. I'll do her core values. She can take me on a hike. We'll see. If someone's going to do it, it's going to be Annette. So I'll give her the first shot at it, and then she can come back and say, yeah, he's a lost cause. There's no chance of him enjoying hiking. I won't complain though when we do it. I do enjoy hiking sometimes, but we'll see. Last question though, for the women who are hesitant to get outside, what would you tell them?
Yeah, I'd say to start small and to find someone to go with so that it can be fun. You know, like whether it's starting just in your neighborhood, doing a walk around the block. I know that sounds super boring. It's like the same way how I coach about meditation. It's like start with 1 minute, but like just go around the block. You can find someone, you know, find a friend that you can walk and talk with, or you know, I do these walks every Wednesday. Like come on a walk with me. You know, it's just a conference line, super low tech. And I mean, back in the day there were meetup groups, but so that's shifted a little bit, because I'd always say like look at a local meetup group and see if there are walks that are close to you, you know, and then you can see what kind of walks they're doing, what kind of hikes they're doing, how far they're going, you know, like maybe you don't want to be with a really aggressive group, you know, like I don't like going on meetup hikes in co-ed, because there's always at least a couple of really weird guys. And then I feel bad that I need to like talk to them. And then, you know, I mean, maybe not anymore, you know, in terms of like as time goes on, but like finding a community that's close to you. And you can join my Facebook group, Fall in Love with Nature and Embrace the Authentic You. And it's a really nice way to connect with other people who have similar interests and, you know, like having fun with it, because that's really the most important part about it.
Yeah, I love how you whispered about the weird dudes as if they were gonna like they're listening to the show and they're gonna come get you right now. There's a lot of weird dudes. There are a lot of weird dudes, and there's some weird girls. There's just weird like, hey, we all embrace your inner weirdness. That's what I say. Just don't make other people feel weird. So that takes emotional intelligence. So yeah. So one more time, where can they find you again on Facebook?
Yeah, Fall in Love with Nature and Embrace the Authentic You is the Facebook group, and I'm on Instagram. It's just my name, and I've recently committed to myself of showing up. I don't want to say that I haven't been authentic, but I have an aversion to Instagram. But I'm like, you know what? I just want to like share what is hard, what is easy. You know, like not necessarily all, you know, like, because sometimes you go on Instagram and even I'm like, I'm a Solomon ambassador, you know, like look at these other pictures, and it's easy to get intimidated. And it's like, no, this is accessible to everyone. So, and I want everyone to feel safe. And then I do have that 40-day program that's coming up. And so it's ultimately around choosing a goal that you can show up to for yourself for 40 days.
Very cool. Well, so grateful to have you on the show. This was so fun. We got to do this again, and we'll dive deeper into, you know, a lot of the things that we didn't talk about, and there's so much there. Guys, thank you so much for watching the show. Share this with your friends. More people need to know about Annette and all the cool things she's doing. You can, if you like what you're seeing, you want to follow more of these shows, you can check us out on my Facebook page at The Real Darius M, and or my website www.therealdarius.com. I'm like questioning it. Is it? Yeah, therealdarius.com. And then I got all my social media on the website. So www.therealdarius.com. And again, Annette, I love you, and I'm so happy to have you on the show. Thank you, and happy birthday. Can't wait to do your core values with you. All right, bye guys.